founder and CEO of ShareLove.Fund. Today we are in our RPYT Yoga Teacher Training, Registered Prenatal Yoga Teacher Training, week number 23. Our pose of the week is tree pose. Briefly, tree pose is a balancing pose. Bring one foot in and balance. Balancing poses on the other side. Balancing poses improve concentration. While pregnant, balancing poses can be challenging. This is a pose you could use a chair as a prop to hold on to a wall. We also can do balancing on our knees, sort of get some of the benefits of one-leggedness just on the knee. If we don't feel comfortable fully balancing on the foot while pregnant, pregnancy can throw off the center of balance and so forth. So that is the highlight of the week, but we will start with a seated centering. So please take a comfortable seated position. You may be more comfortable on a block, bolster. You never need any fancy props. You can use a pile of laundry, as I like to say, whatever's comfortable. And, let's just take a few breaths together. So while pregnant, breaths should not be strenuous. And you should try to do a breath that's comfortable. And with that in mind, if it is comfortable to focus on elongating your exhale, in yogic thought, it's thought to calm the nervous system when that exhale is twice as long as the inhale. However, in pregnancy, we shouldn't restrict the breath in any way. And please use your own best judgment. Nothing here shall be construed as medical advice. So we'll inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So an easy seat, Sukhasana. Let's warm up our hips a little bit. Hips can be tight in pregnancy, so we'll just move our hips a little forward and back. And this is a nice precursor for cat-cow, which we will later do as part of our warm-up sequence. You know I love Hawaii, so we will do a little hula together. I apologize to the people who actually know how to hula, because I'm sure I'm doing a disservice to it, but I think in the spirit of aloha, people would want us to feel good in the skin we're in. And yoga is a practice, not a perfect. So now let's do these hip circles tying in the breath. So we'll inhale and exhale. And on the other side, inhale and exhale. And sort of at your own pace, let's just do that a little bit until it starts to feel smooth. If your hips are bothering you, you can restrict the motion to just vertical, forward and back, or on the lateral plane, sideways, if it's too much all the way around. Definitely listen to your body. The purpose of this is not to win the Olympics on hip circles. The purpose is to feel relaxed. So if you feel a pinch or a pull, it's probably going to make your body feel a little tense, and then it's not achieving the purpose. So in this teacher training, I always like to remind our trainees, our students, that this is not about memorizing a specific pose or sequence. This is about thinking about the goal you're trying to achieve, and then taking what you've learned in your yoga teacher training to be a bunch of tools in a toolkit that you can use at your own discretion to achieve the goals you are seeking to achieve. So if the idea is to loosen up the hips and this hurts, then we can think about other ways. You know, for example, laying on our back and bringing our knee into the chest. This is another way to do a hip circle. So there are a lot of ways to, I'm just going to do it on the other side for evenness, but there are a lot of ways to achieve a goal, and that's the beauty of yoga. There's a modification for everything, and when we stop thinking about it as trying to be perfect in every pose, and when we start thinking about it as our body deserves to feel good, and our students deserve to feel good. And so when we use yoga as a tool to help ourselves and our students feel good in the skin we're in, then that's the crux of what we're after. Let's take a few more breaths here. Really kind of breathing into it. If you lift your arms up, you can get a little deeper forward thrust. Maybe side to side. And back. Keeping in mind this inhale and exhale. Thinking of your inhales and exhales is almost like a noodle, like sipping in a noodle and breathing out a noodle, or through your nose, but just like keeping it smooth. We'll inhale again to really reach it forward, and exhale. Reaching it back a little, side to side. So now let's really stretch out our obliques and side body. In prenatal yoga, we never want to twist or turn or tweak our torso, but it is okay to go side to side. There's a lot of tightness people feel in pregnancy, and this really just opens it up. So we'll breathe here together a little bit. If you feel tension in your neck, shake it out. If this feels like too much weight on your wrists, then use your core to really lift you up. And exhale. And as thoughts come in your mind, you can acknowledge them like you're watching a movie, but just let them go. This is your time to listen to your body, listen to those aches and pains, and try to create self-mastery. And one way to create self-mastery is to master your breath. Sort of like if you have a whole house to clean and it feels overwhelming. You can start by making your bed. And then when it's done, it's done. So when you really feel in control of your breath, that's huge. That can impact your mood. That can reduce impulsivity. It can enhance your ability to respond from a place of abundance instead of react from a place of depravity. Having control of your breath, you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to pay anyone. It's just right there. And it's the foundation of everything. So yoga is linking breath with movement. Yoga means to yoke or a union together. Doesn't mean being a pretzel. It means moving with breath. So let's take a few breaths here and see how, if we really relax and visualize our breath in the tight parts, how we can sort of loosen up a little bit. Thinking about keeping our back straight as if it was flat against a wall. Pulling up from the torso and then coming to the other side. Noticing the difference between both sides, our shoulders, our neck. Thinking about that breath, the 1 to 2 ratio. Really trying to reach with this side while grounding the sits bones, but also trying to keep the shoulder relaxed. Yoga is about opposites. So we reach, but not too much that it affects the shoulder. Relaxing our neck, relaxing our forehead and jaw, and just honoring our time here. All the things that need to be done can wait. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes doing a little less. When you're pregnant, you get pleasantly surprised by people stepping up to the plate and taking initiative and helping you out. So now let's see if we feel a little looser in this now. Well, inhale, shoulders down, and exhale, leaning forward and walking our fingertips to one side and stretching out the side body from this angle, not tweaking or twisting the torso, but just stretching. Letting your body fall into the pose. Keeping the sits bones anchored. And walking the fingertips a little more. Feeling the underarm. You may feel the stretch in your wrist, your hand, your side body, your underarm, your back, your hip. You'll feel it in your tightest point. And we'll just breathe into it, thinking about that breath count, the 1 to 2. And just honoring that the body is really, really resilient and a powerful thing. And, sometimes we beat ourselves up over what we shouldn't have eaten or what we shouldn't have done, or we didn't exercise enough, or we're not happy with our weight or something. But this is the work to get you where you want to be. So yoga is about presence. So instead of beating ourselves up about the past, why not take the opportunity to propel ourselves forward in the present? And here we'll walk our hands slowly so you're not lightheaded to the other side. If you want to get a glass of water, or if it's too long upside down, sort of, please make adjustments so you feel comfortable. Everyone in our RPYT program will be earning their prenatal teaching degree as accredited by Yoga Alliance. And so as a teacher, you're going to have to make some decisions. So, you'll have to decide when to modify, how to respond to your own body, when to demonstrate a technique and when to not demonstrate a technique. For example, if you're teaching 5 classes in a day, then demonstrating may cause an injury. And so you can call upon a student in your class to demonstrate, or you can use verbal cues. Likewise, if you're teaching one-to-one, it's all about customization, especially for prenatal. Prenatal clients come for one-on-one instruction because they want total customized support. So what we learn is tools, but the real lesson is gaining confidence in executing your own critical thinking. Here we're leaning back with our hips and forward with our hands. Allowing us to let go and sink into our side body. Thinking about the breath in 2 parts, inhale and exhale for 2 parts. To the extent that that feels comfortable within your system. And now let us just breathe in center. As our mind wanders, we'll focus it back on our breath. And by having that focus, it strengthens our mind. And we'll see that it helps our balancing pose when we come into tree pose, because focus is key for balancing. So when we can control our minds, then we can start to control our actions in the outside world, and we can start to make better decisions that are more likely to yield the results that we desire. If you feel comfortable to expand your breath, you can expand. And with an inhale, we'll slowly engage our core and slowly get up, vertebrae by vertebrae, so you don't get lightheaded. Relax the shoulders and congratulate yourself on that stretch. From here, if you feel comfortable to be on the ground, you can. If you want to continue to have a supported pose, feel free. And here we're going to just stretch out one leg, stretch out the other, because sometimes in pregnancy, our feet can fall asleep, our legs can fall asleep. And so sometimes that fidgety feeling, it's actually just our body saying, hey, we need help with the circulation. So what I like to do for pregnancy is in cobbler's pose, do a little self-massage. And sometimes that can feel good, especially when we've been seated in the same position for a while. So in cobbler's pose with a self-massage, or if it's more comfortable to have your legs out in front of you or your knees bent, however it's comfortable, let's stretch our neck a little bit. So often in the office or in emails, we hold tension in our neck. And so this is a really nice kind of office yoga technique where even at work, maybe you don't have a mat, but you can do some neck rolls. Even, maybe once an hour, you can, or before lunch and before you go home or something like this, you can just do some neck rolls and it all adds up. The nice thing about stretching in yoga is it just takes frequency, but not a lot of time. When you spend too much time doing some of this stuff, it can lead to injuries. So yoga is more about an everyday practice, and it's more about little grains of sand adding up to make a beach than about a big dump truck. So as you do these neck rolls, let's think about the breath again. And you can do this neck roll at your own pace, using your breath to really get those nooks and crannies that you want to get. You can kind of shake out one shoulder, shake out the other to get a deeper stretch. One side, and then the other side. Now let's try going side to side again, now that our neck is a little warmed up. And really seeing, is there a difference? Is there a difference from when we went to the side leaning forward? Did that help open up? What still feels tight? Sometimes tightness is protective. If we didn't have any tightness and our neck just spun in circles, that would be pretty disturbing and also dangerous. So when we start to think of tightness as a protective factor of our body's trying to protect us, then we can just do the work of stretching and releasing without the judgment of, oh my gosh, I'm so tight and this and that, because positive self-talk is key. And it's hard to relax when you're beating yourself up about being tight. So what if you just, every time you felt tight and didn't move the way you wanted to, what if you said, thanks body for protecting me. I really appreciate it. However, I don't feel I need that much protection. So you can ease off of security for a bit. And that's kind of how we can bring in some gratitude. So I'll do one more on each side. Really using our breath as almost a meditation. Asking ourselves, what am I holding on to? And just like falling into it. Feeling where the hip and back attach. And we'll go on the other side. Noticing the difference between the two sides. Trying to not have tension in the neck. Trying to make sure that our shoulder is in line with the back wall, depending on how you're facing, or that you're just stacked vertically. Not tweaking or twisting your torso. Relaxing your knees, your jaw, your forehead between your eyes. Connecting your breath like a noodle in and out. With an inhale, we'll come up, shake it out a little bit without twisting. And now we'll start our go-to warm-up. So our go-to warm-up, just to review, is easy seat. And then we'll go to cat-cow. From cat-cow, we'll build on what we did with those hip circles. In cow, we can kind of move a little bit. You don't need to follow me exactly. The point of this is not to follow me exactly. The point is to loosen up the spine. So if you feel like moving a little bit in these poses helps you loosen it up, then go for it. If you feel like being a purist helps you feel really confident and in control and in command of these poses, and that's what you need today, then do it. Again, this is not just a yoga class. This is a yoga class for prenatal yoga teacher trainees, earning their own degree, getting their own empowerment to either teach themselves or teach others, just have knowledge. We can learn something from everyone. The things you don't like in the class, that's good to know what you don't like. And you can refine your teaching strategy to make sure you don't do that. And the things you do like, then great. That's information that you get to keep and you get to capitalize on. So we'll warm up our spine. Using our breath to get deeper into it. When we draw our belly down, we will put our head up to really stretch the neck. making the hands spread out. And thinking about the breath with 1 part inhale and 2 parts exhale, elongating the breath. Stretching everything from the neck to the spine. In this cat-cow position, we can kind of do the hula that we were doing before, sort of the around the world. And please do this at your own pace so you really get the stretches that you need. So we were stretching the obliques before, and you can get at that a little more in this position. So we can try to achieve the results we want in different ways. And we'll do it on the other side. Big advantage of yoga is that we can be even on both sides. So from here, we will go into the second position, or the third position of our warm-up. So we had easy seat, cow, and cat. And now we'll do downward puppy. So in downward puppy, this is a way to really stretch the underarm. You can take a few breaths here. And then you can walk the hands to one side, and we'll just continue on this idea of like, let's open up these obliques today to the extent it doesn't hurt, to the extent that it is safe within your pregnancy. This is not for high-risk pregnancy. Assume the maximum medical disclaimer. Not for pre-existing medical conditions. Use your own judgment. Ask a doctor. This is only a guide. But to the extent this doesn't conflict with your physical condition, let's just really try to stretch the side body here. So this is a variation of downward puppy where we're really trying to stretch the side body. If this is too long in this pose for you, please move around. The idea is that you should hold it to the extent it's comfortable until your body actually gives you some release. If you feel any aches or pains, then definitely you can come to child's pose or comfortable seated position, or a relaxation pose of your choice. But we're just going to hold this a little longer for the folks that really need to kind of dig into this release, but sort of need a class to put the brakes on their daily routine to get at it. Well, this is a stretch and a relaxation in some ways. It's also building strength in our core. We're not collapsing because we are engaging our core to a certain extent. The belly should not be on the mat. We don't want to lay on our stomach while we're pregnant. We'll walk our hands to the other side. So here we have traditional downward puppy. In the center, we'll take a few breaths here and then we'll walk to the other side. So now we'll stretch the obliques on this other side. Without tweaking or twisting the torso, just a side body stretch. You can lengthen a leg out if that helps increase the stretch for you, but just be sure to not tweak or twist the torso. So here I want to make sure my knees are forward, my belly button's forward. You can curl your toes under for additional support. And we'll think about that breath that we discussed earlier, 1 part in and 2 parts out. From here, we'll walk our hands back to downward puppy, and then we'll scooch back to child's pose. For prenatal, child's pose can be supported with a bolster. So we don't want to put weight on the belly. Some people put the bolster close. Sometimes it's here. Sometimes there's a bolster and then an additional blanket to create more space. So you can sort of decide what feels good. Sometimes hugging the bolster feels support. And so we'll put our head on one side. Sometimes you don't need the blanket or the bolster because with a wide-legged position, there's room for the belly. So let's put our cheek on one side and we'll just take a few breaths here, honoring our warm-up, thinking about putting the sacrum down, stretching the arms, melting into it. Taking time to have deep breaths, not to the point it's strained, but often our breathing becomes shallow, or with the added pressures, physical and mental, emotional, of pregnancy, sometimes we restrict ourselves on breath more than we have to. So let's just take a few breaths here. Now let's walk our hands to one side. So now we're doing the side body stretch that we did in downward puppy, but we're doing it from child's pose. If your feet feel asleep, please change your position, move around. To the extent that you really want to get those nooks and crannies in your side body stretched and worked out, releasing those toxins. Definitely drink a lot of water after. You know, we can eat healthy, but what do we do about the toxins already in our body? So stretching is a way to cleanse kind of the filth that's already in there. We'll walk our hands to the other side. Trying to ground our sits bones to our foot. And And just staying here until we feel the release. It takes time for the body to surrender and to get the release. However, if it hurts, definitely come out of this pose. Breathing into it, letting go. Asking yourself, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of if I let go? What will happen? Will I fall? No, the ground is there to support us. Here we'll walk our hands back to the center of child's pose, and we'll come up and we'll do cat-cow again. You can shake the head side to side, drop the neck, and stretch the spine, maybe leaning backward, forward, stretching the neck. Spinal flexibility is really important for health. And even though you're pregnant, if you're pregnant, cat-cow is okay to do unless it's high risk. Unless it feels uncomfortable, then don't do it. We'll go kind of around the world again. And on the other side. Kind of exaggerating on one hip and just feeling that hip stretch with a few breaths. Exaggerating on the other side. With a few breaths. From here, let's come back to child's pose and we'll rest our cheek on the other side, because in yoga we definitely want to be even on both sides. So here we'll just take a few relaxation breaths. Just let it all go. We'll walk our hands to one side. Fingertips reaching one way and the hip reaching the other way. For a side body stretch. Stretching our back. Often in pregnancy, people experience back pain. So having a limber back can really alleviate a lot of rigidity that can then turn into injury. So when we're flexible, even in our language, we say, oh, bounce back. Bouncing back, well, bouncing is flexible. It's hard to, like cast iron doesn't bounce, but a bendy ball does bounce. So when you want to think about, your ability to handle situations, you can think, well, do I want to be cast iron, which is strong, but it can break, or a bouncy ball? And I think the real answer is we want to be neither. First of all, we want to be us. But second of all, what we really want is tools. We want to know how to be cast iron when needed. We want to know how to be a bouncy ball when needed. And then ultimately what we want is to achieve balance. With balance, we can stay well-centered and equipped to deal with all that life throws at us. Here we'll come up, we'll walk our hands to center with that same cheek on the mat, a few breaths, and then we'll stretch on the other side. Feeling if you feel any longer. Walking our hands to the other side. Stretching that side body. Trying to even connect the underarm to the mat. It's not possible. Obviously, don't try to connect it if it's going to interfere with the belly, but that's the idea. When we're not tweaking or torquing, we're basically sort of keeping our torso parallel to the mat. Relaxing the shoulders. Noticing if you feel it differently when you started the pose to now. Walking our hands back to child's pose. We'll then go to down puppy, where we were. Then back to cat-cow. Shaking out the neck again. Engaging our abs to maximize the stretch. Putting one hip out. Putting the other hip out. Really kind of try to move around to find your own point of tightness to stretch it. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. From cat-cow, we'll come back down to easy seat. And that is a really simple warm-up. It's only 4 poses. As you already know, our yoga teaching degree is accredited for incarcerated women. We just try to keep it as simple as possible so that we can graduate even people who are illiterate, so that they can be confident yoga teachers. You don't need to know every pose. You just need to be confident about a sequence that you can perform no matter what's going on in your head, no matter what happened to you that day. So that's just a little sequence. We can stretch our neck as we talk about it. It's just a little warm-up sequence with 4 poses: easy seat, cat-cow, downward puppy, child's pose. It's our first go-to warm-up sequence, as we discussed, and we frequently review it each week because through repetition, that makes things easy to remember. And then our graduates, they can build on those simple sequences and make them more complicated, or they can never use them again and, you know, sort of be sick of it by the time they endure these 52 weeks of live on YouTube. And that is empowerment for you to decide as a decider. So now we're going to do our second go-to warm-up sequence that is going to lead into our basic sun salutation A as a review of that. So take a centering breath, and then on the inhale, we will come to cat-cow. From cat-cow, stand up to Tadasana. And from Tadasana, do forward fold. Now, notice I widened my legs a little bit. Well, first of all, I'm going to take off my socks because prenatal balance is an issue. Folks are off balance with the changing body. And so one way to help be prenatal safe is to make sure that there's good traction between the body and the mat. And one way is to remove socks. Another thing for prenatal is a wider stance. Sometimes that helps, and a slight bend in the knees. So let's explore that. Okay, so from Tadasana, in our warm-up sequence, we'll do a forward fold. So here I'm going to talk a little bit while we stretch. If it's uncomfortable or you feel lightheaded, you're always welcome to do a seated forward fold. You can also bend your knees, pedal out one side or the other. And actually, I think we'll do that modification today. So we're just going to kind of do a forward fold, pedaling out the knees. So this is an example of our second go-to warm-up sequence has a forward fold. But is it a big deal if somebody doesn't feel comfortable doing a forward fold? No, it's not a big deal. Why not? Because the purpose is not to get an A+ in forward folding. The purpose is to stretch the back, stretch the hamstrings, stretch the back of the neck. So in forward fold, the idea is that we're relaxed. Our back is relaxed, our neck is relaxed, our hamstring is relaxed. By pedaling out the feet, you can get a little deeper into the stretch. If one side is a little tighter, you can spend a little more time on one side to even it out. And by doing a seated forward fold as a modification for standing forward fold, well, first of all, it's a great prenatal modification because a lot of pregnant people, they feel off balanced. It's also a good modification if you have a stuffy nose. Also, some people kind of get headaches from being upside down so long. And we're just going to kind of hold this pose for a while, because that's where the release happens. You know, they say a minute, like a second on the lips, a lifetime on the hips, or something like that. But basically, you know, it's a little bit unfortunate, but it's easier to put toxins into your body than it is to release them. And stretching, coupled with water and sleep, and certain foods are helpful in removing toxins. We talk about this somewhat in our book, Broadening Our Horizons, What Can Modern Food Science Learn from Historic Nutritional Practices? But you know, what we eat also helps with the toxins. And you know, one sort of binge isn't really going to do anything, but it's a cumulative effect. But the other thing that's a cumulative effect is the positive things we do. Stretching has a cumulative effect. It's just that sometimes the stuff that's good for us is boring, or takes a long time, and it has delayed rewards. However, sometimes those delayed rewards, the rewards that take a long time to achieve, sometimes they're longer lasting as well, and meaningful, and build self-esteem, and create strength within. So it's worth it. We'll relax our head. We'll just take a few moments of silence here. As we come up, we will resume to go back to Tadasana and start our Sun Salutation A, basic. From Tadasana, upward salute. Upward salute, forward fold. From forward fold, we'll step our left foot back to plank, and then our right foot. From plank, up dog cobra, cobra, down dog. From down dog, we'll step our left leg forward between our hands, forward fold, half bend, upward salute, Tadasana. Now we'll do it stepping our other foot back. Tadasana, upward salute, forward fold, half bend, step our right leg back. Our left leg back to plank. Up dog, cobra, down dog, right leg in, step our hand through, step our other hand through, forward fold, half bend, upward salute, Tadasana. Now let's talk about our balancing pose. So tree pose, how do we get into it? We can bring our knee in and, so actually we can bring our knee in and just sort of jump into it. Or we can just start, you know, if we're a little nervous about balance, we can just kind of do a little toe taps. Sometimes it helps with the hands on the hips. You can have your arms out to the side of you, Focusing on a point of the wall always helps. And you can just kind of start like this. And there's not too much to fall. You can also hold on to something. And then from here, you can bring your leg up, not to put it on your knee. And one thing that helps with the balancing is thinking of the sole of your foot with the base of your leg squeezing and pushing themselves together, just like my hands are pushing myself together. If it helps you concentrate, you can put your hands in prayer pose like this and really think about the squeezing. You can also tighten your inner thigh and really have it push your foot off. Like imagine there are two kids fighting. Like, get off of my thigh. No, I'm gonna be here. And yoga is about balance, but balance is also about juxtaposition, counterweight. And so by having one side push and the other side push, it stays balanced. When we look at early architecture that is still standing, we can see sometimes the weight of the stone pillars by the angle that they are placed. They've actually stayed in place, not by mortar, but by the forces of pushing together. This is why a triangle is one of our strongest architectural shapes. Not an expert on this area, so please comment and correct me. But there is a strength in pushing against. The other key to balancing poses is concentration. When our mind is wandering, it's harder to balance. And also, finally, really all balance comes from the core. So we can just take a few moments here. If you are coming in and out of the pose, just be patient with yourself. If you feel comfortable in the pose, use this as an opportunity to concentrate on your breath. Did a lot of stretching, and they say that sort of toxins, when they leave your body, they kind of bite you on the way out. And so sometimes when we do a lot of stretching and we release toxins, it can make us also feel a little sick. So drink lots of water, go to child's pose or comfortable seated position as you need. Engage your glutes to stand tall and strong. If you feel anxious, ask yourself, what's the rush? Where do you have to be right now? Holding poses are kind of boring, and settling into our breath can be uncharted territory. Being alone can feel scary. But if we don't make peace with us, how can we make peace with the world that we live in? So balancing poses are a time to draw inward and get to know you. When you feel comfortable, you can inhale and exhale. Shake it out. Shake out that standing leg. Tell that standing leg, good job. You worked hard. Now we'll give that standing leg a break. You can do a little toe taps. maybe this is the comfort zone. Remember, it's the strength in on the core, which keeps us tall and strong. Tighten up the glutes. And you can give this side a try. Engaging that thigh, really squeezing it and pushing the foot against it for tree pose on the other side. And by having our hands in this prayer position and really pushing our palms against each other, remind ourselves that we can build strength and solidarity by using our muscles to challenge each other to engage. So by pushing, it's not really that we want to push. It's not really that I want my thigh to push my foot away. It's that I want my foot to remind my thigh to engage. And by my thigh engaging, it reminds my foot to remind my back glute to engage. Focusing on an object or a mark on the wall. Maybe a dirty spot we might need to clean after, but for now you have gratitude for that smudge because it gives you something to focus on. And remembering to breathe. Knowing that to converge on one foot, it helps to converge the thoughts in your mind. To help focus your mind, an easy thing to concentrate on is your breath. You can think of the breath we're talking about, one inhale in and two out to the extent that's comfortable. And just exploring the concept of acceptance. So what if we're here a while? What if we just accept it? What if we accept the task at hand without judgment? How much more energy would we have to then do the work? By exhaling, sort of like you're blowing a bubble, that increases strength in the pelvic floor. You can think of your foot as having like little monkey feet, and that you're actually holding onto the mat with your foot. It's not just like sliding all over the place, but if you think of your foot as a hand actually gripping the mat, then you have something to hold on to. Each toe can curl and grab little fiber of the mat. You can appreciate how the smallest part, your little pinky toe, is helping the great big being of you balance. How we're just an accumulation of parts, but each one important, each one playing a role. We're also working our arms by holding this position, and we're building strength. As we fidget, our muscles make adjustments. We really get to work those nooks and crannies of our stabilizer muscles. With an inhale, reach our arms up. And exhale, we'll shake it out. Shake out our standing leg. Good job, standing leg. Honor our body. While we're standing up, we will inhale up and just try to stretch our shoulders back. We can reach like this. A lot of these poses that we do seated, we can also do standing. And sometimes that could be nice while you're pregnant. Maybe you need to kind of shake it out a little. So we can sort of shake it out while we're standing. And also doing something like this reminds you that, yeah, if you don't have an hour and a half, you can still do some yoga. You know, in a minute while your kid is practicing their spelling words, you know, you can kind of shake out your legs, increase circulation, stretch your arm like this. You can do some hip circles. A lunge to one side or the other. And in prenatal, when you're teaching, it's nice to think about the sequence that sometimes pregnant people, they don't want to go down and up and down and up so much. So if you have a prenatal client who's up, we were just standing up for tree, you know, then maybe keep them up for a little bit, because it's the up and down which is really hard. Let's take a few breaths and we'll practice that breath, like a whistle, to build strength in the pelvic floor. And with that, we'll let it all out and shake out our arms. Inhale, and stretch out the other elbow. On the other side, reach around the back if that feels good to you. Stretching the shoulders. Noticing the difference between both sides. You can shake out your foot a little more. You can do a lunge, sort of like a side. Hip circles. Everything's connected, so this tightness in the shoulder that can affect our neck, our jaw. Let's do some ankle rolls. Do some ankle rolls on the other side. Flex the foot. Flex the other foot. Stretching out the tops of the foot, like pointing it and gently sort of putting pressure to stretch it. Stretching the other foot. Remembering to breathe. Practicing the 2-part breath, 1 part inhale and 2 exhale, to the extent that feels comfortable, as a way to relax your mood, gain mastery over your breath and yourself. You'll notice in general in the prenatal yoga class, I won't count. Inhale for these many counts and exhale for that many counts, because it's really important to not restrict breath for prenatal clients. And so by talking about ratios, that enables the client to exercise the ratio practice of breath work within the zone that's comfortable. Now, you may want to know where the concept of breath work came from, and there's reference to it in the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, and there's a lot of sutra information on our playlist as well. We'll come out of this shaking it out. Inhale and exhale, shoulder over. Inhale, exhale to the other side. Let's come down. First we'll go sort of exercising our core. A slow position to squat. And then you can use your hands for support, and we'll come back to our backs. Here we can have our legs wide and roll side to side, rock side to massage the spine. Honor your practice. You are a strong tree. If it feels good, you can rock a little forward and back. Have some fun with it. Again, in prenatal, you can't twist, but you can bend your back, just like we did in cat-cow. And sometimes with mat work, we can get the nooks and crannies that we couldn't before. And here we'll rock to the other side. Now we don't want to torque our torso as discussed. So by having our hands on our knees, we're one solid unit. So when we go side to side, our whole belly is going together. This massages the liver and spleen and just helps really loosen up and get those toxins out. It's almost a way of a self-massage. For prenatal, it's not safe to be on your back too long. So if you do not feel comfortable, depending on if you're pregnant or how far along you are in your pregnancy, you are welcome to modify and get off your back. And to the extent it feels good to you, let's do happy baby. So you can grab your big toes and we're just gonna stretch. We're gonna stretch our hamstrings, tucking our chin in, elongating our neck, then releasing the chin. You can put your head side to side to make sure your neck is relaxed. Thinking about connectivity with your spine, from your sacrum to the back of your head with the mat. Think about imagining if your whole entire neck was touching the mat. For some people, that might not be so hard. You know, each of our skeletal systems are a little bit different. The way our joints are fused together and things like that, it's a little bit different in each person. So that's why some poses are easier for other people naturally than others. So, you know, some people have more of a sway back. So it's not a perfect, it's a practice. And in this practice today, we're thinking about connectivity of the spine to the mat and imagining our feet horizontal to the floor and breathing in to open up those hips. We started this lesson with some hip circles, and we can continue it with just releasing our hips, just matching the hips, just spreading themselves out. Breathing into it and just letting go. You can move your hands around if it helps you get into deeper stretch. And to the extent this feels like too much time on your back, then please modify. You can open up your hips in cobbler's pose. In the past, we've done supported reclined goddess pose, where we've used blocks and a bolster behind us. The hips are pretty stubborn, so take some time to open up. Can bring our knees back down, have our feet to the ground, and lift up for bridge pose. In bridge pose, we are building strength in our pelvic floor. This is also a great postnatal stretch, so keep it in mind for life after pregnancy. If you want more heat, you can put one leg up and the other. And we'll just try to do a good job really lifting the hips up, keeping the palms together. This really works the glutes. Gently come down, vertebrae by vertebrae. Lifting our legs up to the sky. Slowly bringing them down to increase abdominal strength. If it's too much for you, you can do it, one leg at a time, like that. We're not going to do any twists for prenatal. You can bring the knees up to your chest again. Connect the soles of your feet. There is a whole branch of yoga just sort of about the interconnectedness of, or the energy of connecting body parts to each other. So you can explore that. With your hands on your hips, you can sort of draw attention of your breath to your hips and sort of think about opening up in this reclined goddess pose. Inhale, bring your arms up. Stretch to one side. Exhale. Inhale, bring your arms back to center. And exhale on the other side. You can have cactus arms, arms directly overhead. Doesn't matter as long as you feel relaxed. If this feels like too much time on your back, then please modify and adjust. There's a lot going on in the middle area, and sometimes we just need a moment to let gravity pull our knees down. We just need to create the space. And when we create the space to relax, the time zone per se to relax, then our body can actually do the work to relax. We sort of set our body up at the altar of relaxation, so to speak, and then our body can take flight from there. From here, we'll inhale, bringing our arms down to our knees, holding onto our knees. We're going to rock side to side again. And when we come to our sides, we're going to do it holding our legs. So we really come as like one full unit. So we have no tweaks or twists or torques to our torso. Keeping the belly safe. And here, let's just take a few breaths in this final relaxation pose. You can do a little self-massage to your neck and shoulders just to remind your neck to relax. If your neck doesn't feel comfortable here, you can grab a pillow, a hoodie, something to support your neck, to cradle your neck. And self-massage in pregnancy is really an amazing tool because it is available to you at any time. And it can provide immediate relief in some of those more trying times. When you feel able, take a nice inhale and slowly come up to seated position, Sukhasana, easy seat, where we began. Let's take a few centering breaths again, reflecting on our practice today, honoring ourselves for our commitment to wellness. Wherever you are in your journey, the fact that you explored wellness today means that you're honoring your body. Namaste.